Welcome to History Unpacked. If you enjoy the content, then please subscribe or leave a comment. It's greatly appreciated by our small team here. Today, we're diving into something so mundane, so everywhere, you probably don't even think about it. Coins. Yes, those little round bits of metal that jangle in your pockets, or used to, before we all went contactless. But have you ever stopped to wonder, where did the coins come from? Who decided metal discs could represent wealth? And why do we still use them thousands of years later? In today's episode, we're going on a 2600-year journey through the history of coinage. Let's rewind to the ancient world, somewhere around the 7th century BCE. Picture this, you're a merchant in a busy market in Lydia, in what's now Western Turkey. You're selling fine cloth, spices, maybe a goat or two. Up until now, people have been bartering, trading one good for another. Maybe 2 sacks of grain for a pair of sandals. But that gets messy fast. What if the sandal guy doesn't want grain? Enter electrum, a naturally occurring mix of gold and silver found in the nearby rivers. The Lydians, very cleverly, started standardizing little lumps of this metal. They stamped them with royal symbols, lions mostly, and just like that, around 600 BCE, the world's first coins were born. These early coins weren't exactly perfect. Electrum's gold-silver ratio varied, so their exact value was a little bit imprecise, but the idea was revolutionary. Suddenly, value could be carried in your pocket, counted precisely and trusted, because it bore the mark of the king. From Lydia, coinage spread like wildfire. The nearby Greeks took the concept and ran with it. By the 5th century BCE, nearly every Greek city-state had its own coinage. Athens minted the famous silver tetradrachm, stamped with the owl of Athena, a coin so widely used it was basically the dollar of the ancient Mediterranean. Coins in Greece weren't just about economy, they were about identity. City-states put their gods, heroes, and symbols on their coins, tiny propaganda pieces in every transaction. And the artistry, it was stunning. These weren't rough chunks anymore, they were miniature masterpieces. But if we're talking about coinage and empire, that leads us to the Romans. Rome didn't invent coinage, but they did perfect it. They started minting coins in the 3rd century BCE, and as the empire grew, so did the system. Roman coinage was standardized, state-controlled, and used to project imperial power. Take the denarius, a silver coin introduced around 211 BCE. It became the backbone of Roman currency for centuries. On the front, usually the emperor, because what better way to remind people who's in charge than putting your face in their hand every day? Coins also became tools of propaganda. Victories, gods, slogans, all paraded on coins. And wherever Rome went, its coins followed, spreading Roman culture, language, and economy from Britain to the Middle East. But like everything Roman, the coinage system eventually ran into trouble. As the empire declined in the 3rd and 4th centuries CE, so did the value of its money. Emperors, needing to pay armies and fund the bureaucracy, started debasement. That's mixing base metals into silver coins. Confidence plummeted, inflation soared. This sounds familiar? Eventually, it was only Emperor Diocletian that tried to reform things by making 90% silver that was used in silver coins and 3 bronze coins. Later, Constantine the Great introduced the gold solidus, a coin so stable it lasted into the Byzantine Empire and influenced European coinage for centuries. So what happened after Rome fell? Well, for a while, in Western Europe at least, things got messy. Coinage continued, but it became fragmented. Local kings and lords minted their own money, often copying Roman styles. By the early Middle Ages, coins were mostly silver pennies and their quality varied wildly. But one place kept the torch burning, the Byzantine Empire in the east. Their solidus maintained consistent weight and gold content, anchoring trade in the Mediterranean and beyond. Meanwhile, in the Islamic world, coinage blossomed. The Umayyad and Abbasid caliphates minted beautiful, calligraphy-covered gold dinars and silver dirhams, often free of images in keeping with Islamic tradition. These coins travelled far, across North Africa, into India, even reaching Viking hordes in Scandinavia. In Europe, things picked up around the 12th century. Trade revived, towns grew, and rulers realized controlling coinage means controlling the economy. By the late Middle Ages, powerful states like England, France, and the Italian city-states issued increasingly sophisticated coins. England, for example, introduced the gold noble under Edward III in the 4th century, a hefty gold coin with a ship on one side, symbolizing naval strength. The Renaissance brought not just art and science, but also monetary innovation. The Florentine florin and the Venetian ducat became the preferred coins for international trade, accepted from everywhere from London to Cairo. And then came one of the biggest coinage shakeups in history, the Age of Exploration. Starting in the late 15th century, European powers discovered and exploited vast silver and gold deposits in the Americas. The Spanish struck literal tons of silver, especially from places like Potosi in modern Bolivia. From this bounty came the Spanish piece of 8, a coin that is often divided into parts, hence the name, which became the first global currency. It was so widespread that it influenced the design of the American dollar and even the Chinese yuan. Of course, this global trade came at a cost: exploitation, forced labor, and the linking of economies in ways that would define centuries of colonialism. By the 18th and the 19th centuries, industrialization and nation building ushered in a new era of coinage. Mints became more precise. Coins were milled, edged, and harder to counterfeit. Nations developed modern systems, base metals for small change, silver and gold for larger denominations. Britain's great recoinage in 1816 introduced a full decimal system and standardized coins in a way that influenced many other countries. But soon, coinage faced a new rival: paper money. Paper bills were easier to carry and cheaper to produce. Coins began to take a backseat, used more for change than major purchases. Fast forward to the 20th century, and most coins had shed their precious metals entirely. Gold and silver were phased out of everyday money. Instead, copper, nickel, and alloys ruled. And now, in the 21st century, we're living in a strange in-between world. Coins still exist, we use them, sometimes, but with the rise of cards, apps, crypto, and digital wallets, physical money is fading from daily life in many countries. Yet coins haven't disappeared. They're cultural artifacts. We collect them, we mint them for commemorations, we flip them to make decisions. They're tactile, tangible ways and links to our past. So next time you spot a coin in your pocket or see one glinting on the sidewalk, take a second. Think of Lydia's riverbanks, or Roman emperors or Renaissance merchants, or pirates, pilgrims, and kings. Each coin has a story, and together they tell the tale of civilization itself.